Pop icon superstar Andy Warhol famously said, "In the future, everybody will be world famous for 15 minutes." Characterizing his 1968 art exhibition at the Moderna Museum in Stockholm, Switzerland, it sounded kind of crazy for the times. Yet when evaluated in the year 2017 context, it sounds incredibly prophetic and all-knowing. This brief presentation will aim to show you how American artist Andy Warhol dramatically revolutionized not only the art world itself, but also the impact his work and attitudes had on popular society and culture, leaving lasting imprints in music and film, influencing the way in which we consume media today, and heavily giving rise to the celebrity culture of the present. Born on August 6, 1928, to a family of working-class Polish immigrants in Forest City, Pennsylvania, Warhol attended Carnegie Mellon Art Institute in Pittsburgh. In 1949, he relocated to New York City, where he found commercial success as an illustrator and painting backdrops for the display windows at the Bonwit Teller department store. This is an example of one of his illustrations in a magazine. His shoes were very, very popular. This is another example of his cats that he did as an illustrator, which people also liked a lot. And this is a photo of the Bonwit Teller display itself, which at the time was kind of crazy and radical, as pop art was just beginning to emerge. Researcher Jonathan Schroeder at the University of Rhode Island defines pop art as a reaction to the current dominant form of painting of the day, abstract expressionism, which focused on the inner imagination of the artist and the technique of creating art. In contrast, pop artists drew from the popular culture in achieving an easily recognizable and reproducible art form. With his Campbell's soup cans and Coca-Cola bottles, Brillo boxes, and images ripped straight from the headlines, Warhol became a spokesman for the movement, lovingly dubbed the Pope of Pop. Said Warhol, "I love America, and these are some comments on it. The image is a statement of the symbols of the harsh impersonal products and brash materialistic objects on which America is built today. It's a projection of everything that can be bought and sold, the practical but important symbols that sustain us." So this is an example of one of the Campbell's soup cans, which was his first big success as a artist. And here is, he would do series and he would do like just lots of them lined up together. And when you look at them closely, you notice that each one is different, which is kind of neat, where from far away, it just looks like it's mass produced. Here's an example of the Coca-Cola bottles, which is the same thing like the Campbell's soup cans, where from far away, they look like the same image represented over and over and over. And then up close, it's you can see the little flaws and the mistakes, which Warhol liked a lot about the technique. And this is a picture of him with the Brillo boxes themselves. I kind of like how he's just peeking from the background. People didn't really know how to take the Brillo boxes, and some people really criticized that they were trying to call these art. They felt that they just shouldn't be taken seriously. And this is an example of his headline series of paintings where he took tragic headlines and terrible things that happened in the news and hand painted them, which is, I think, is kind of funny that he took events that were so horrific and then rendered them so lovingly. Fascinated by celebrities, the 1962 suicide of Marilyn Monroe had a tremendous impact on the artist. Considered by many critics to be his strongest, Warhol's Marilyn series uses a silkscreen technique to highlight Monroe's features with dynamic color splashes in a sort of posthumous homage to the actress. Warhol's experimental reproductive technique creates slight differences and flaws in each repetition while maintaining the mass-produced appearance of a consumer good overall. These images are important because Warhol is showing us how we consume celebrities and their valuation in commercialism. Interestingly, Schroeder also points out that these images help provide a thoughtful reminder of the discrepancies between public persona and private identity. So here's an example of the Marilyn series, and I thought it was really striking to just put them all together, and with the slight variations in hair color and skin color and tone and just the vibrancy, I think makes them really stunning. In his article, Analyzing Artistic Innovation, the Greatest Breakthrough of the 20th Century, author David Gallinson declares Warhol's work of 1962 as the greatest breakthrough of a single year ever made by an American artist. His silkscreen images not only became the most celebrated images of pop art, but also raised issues of time, sequence, duration, repetition, and seriality that have influenced younger artists from the 1960s through the present. So everyone from then on has been influenced by these, which is kind of impressive, I think. During the 1960s, Warhol began transitioning into the world of film and recording, cultivating a studio known simply as the Factory that was spray painted with silver paint and covered with tinfoil. And this is a picture of Warhol working in it here. Warhol crafted his own brand of celebrities or superstars, a bohemian hybrid mix of personalities, such as the likes of it girl model socialite Edie Sedgwick, drag queen Candy Darling, and Nico, frontwoman for the rock band The Velvet Underground. So this is a picture of Warhol and Edie Sedgwick, who was the first example of a celebrity being famous for not really having any kind of skill, sort of like a precursor to the Kardashians. She was praised for her fashion and she was everywhere. This is a photo of Warhol and Candy Darling, who was one of his superstars in his movies, and she was a well-known drag queen at the time. And then this is a picture of Warhol and the Velvet Underground, who he was helping to produce. And Nico is on the left-hand side, and you can see Warhol in the middle. And I just like the sunglasses and the look that they all have. In his fascinating article, Strategic Naivete, Professor Gustavus Stadler of Haverford College expounds upon the theory that Warhol's lack of technical audio and sound recording knowledge as a producer paved the way for the band's carefully crafted original sound and was instrumental in helping pave the way for their stardom. Citing Thomas Edison as Warhol's ultimate mentor and inspiration, Stadler characterizes Warhol's approach as a radically creative act, one which embodies technologies in their infancies. Interestingly enough, Warhol was also one of the first people in the world to own a cassette recorder on account of his brand loyalty and strong relationship with the original manufacturer, Philips Norelco. Also around this time period, Warhol declared his days as a painter over and began focusing all of his energies toward film. While critic Stephen Smith called Empire one of the dullest films ever committed to cinema, others hailed the 8-hour and 15-minute ode to New York City's Empire State Building as preternatural and a study in mindfulness with its single locked-off shot of the building's face and comparing it to the equivalent of staring at the Mona Lisa for a lengthy interval. Warhol's other films received similar reception. Most notably, Sleep showcases poet John Giorno sleeping for 6 hours. In the article, Attention Must Be Paid, author Edward Powers states that the importance of the film lies. In effect, sleep affords the filmgoer two options. Either the filmgoer may check out of the film and back into reality, and alternatively, the filmgoer may totally check into sleep by addressing each frame as a picture in itself. So here is one of the photos from Empire, and it was just this for hours. It was just a camera, and every 35 minutes they'd change the film, and you just saw the Empire State Building. And then this is a photo of the magazine that Andy Warhol later founded, Interview, which is actually still around today. And this is a picture of David Bowie on the cover. So that's why I picked it. Warhol continued to remain active in the arts until his death in 1987. Other notable achievements include founding Interview magazine, which we just saw the cover of, setting up the Andy Warhol Foundation, and mentoring young artists such as Keith Haring and Jean-Michel Basquiat. This is a picture of Keith Haring, who shot to fame with his subway drawings. And I like this photo because it showed him actually doing his paintings down in the subway. This is Warhol and Basquiat, and one of their events was they had a collaboration gallery event, and I just always liked the mock-up painting photos, like it was an actual fight. Warhol's legacy remains important because it influenced almost every aspect of popular culture that exists today. With the emergence of pop art, he took art from the rarefied walls of the gallery and made it accessible to everyone, helping to break down many of the barriers between class and fame. He was incredibly perceptive about what drives mass culture and predicted the rise of the celebrity culture and the reality show era we inhabit presently. His self-portraits were precursors for the selfies and the Instagram posts of today, and his use of technology in various mediums influenced the way we live, work, and create today. His obituary and advertising age remembered Warhol this way. In this pop culture, Andy Warhol saw America. Through him, America saw himself. And I hope you enjoyed this brief look into just some of the really cool things that Andy Warhol did and contributed. And I'd like to leave you on this note with this photo where he has New York City behind him. And I feel like it just is a nice photo about how young and how hopeful he is. And, I bet he never imagined what was in store ahead of him. Thanks.